What's up, everybody, and welcome into this very special Under the Hood with John the Hood podcast, along with my crazy cousin, Cuzzo Wiley. It's me, Jay Hood. Thank you so much for being part of our show. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. This special, as we talk about Ben Johnson being the new head coach for the Chicago Bears. Cuzzo, it's finally happened. The Bears got their Johnson.
It's a new day. It's a morning in the Bears organization. I think we have
Cuzzo Ronald Reagan has checked in. It's morning again in America.
Yeah.
It's Ronnie Reagan. What do you think, man? I mean, so I want to get your thoughts. Like, again, leave your comments in the chat, and we will get your comments here. But Ben Johnson's the new head coach for the Chicago Bears. I'll just say this, that Ben Johnson was going to be in the top 3 of the choices for Ryan Poles, so that's not a surprise that Ben Johnson is the head coach. What I will say is that if this roster does not get right and get better soon, that Ben Johnson will outlast Ryan Poles. This will not be a situation, even though Ryan Poles might get a little bit of a bump as far as years are concerned. I think the bottom line is that the way I look at this now, if this roster does not improve quickly, then Ben Johnson will definitely outlast Ryan Poles with the Bears.
So I'll focus on the positives today because, I may not have been the biggest Ben Johnson fan, prior to him being hired, but I'll focus on the positive. Here's a guy who has basically coached every offensive position there is to coach in the NFL. And I think that when you have that level of experience, and you're running an offense, you can see things in ways a lot of people can't. So I think that's a positive. I was listening to some of the reports today, and it sounds like he's a red ass behind the scenes. So I also think that's a positive as well. So you get a guy in with a very creative offense to pair with a really talented group of players outside of the offensive line, and I think you can possibly have some success. So I think if Poles and the organization can nail down the lines this year, like just make progress there, I think you can see a team that can go from worst to first if they can do that, because I think you're going to have an offense that a 21st century offense. We haven't had a 20th century offense, in like 60 years. So I think we're going to see a 21st century offense that can score a lot of points. And if the defense can do what they've done prior to the end of the year, I think we're going to have a really good team with Ben Johnson at the helm. So I'm excited.
Well, here's what we know about Ben Johnson. In 3 seasons with Ben Johnson as the Lions offensive coordinator, Detroit ranked top 5 in scoring all 3 years, finishing 5th in 2022 and 2023 and first last year, 33.2 points a game. The Lions led the NFL in scoring this season for the first time since 1954. The Lions' 28.2 offensive points per game between 22 and 24 were the most in the National Football League. So it was undeniable that Ben Johnson was going to get a head coaching gig because you see those eye-popping numbers offensively. We know it's an offensive league. And so, of course, Ben Johnson was going to get a head coaching position. And it happens to be the Chicago Bears. Now, from that standpoint, that looks as if the Bears were able to shop at the top shelf and say, we need someone to work with Caleb Williams for the long haul. And I think that they found that person, I think, for the long haul. The thing is, though, Wiley, is that, and I've been saying this on the Cap and J Hood morning show on ESPN Chicago a lot, is that what's so strange about last season that we went through is that the narrative is not that the Bears offense was hurt. It's like, I can understand if Bears struggled 5 wins because DJ Moore is out, or Cole Kmet was out, or Roma Dunze, or Keenan Allen was out for an extended amount of time. What was so strange is the weapons stayed healthy. It's just that they were throwing the ball around the line of scrimmage, and Caleb was not able to get the ball down the field and get the ball out quickly. The offensive line was a problem, and just everything did not gel. The hope is that with Ben Johnson, he can unlock some of the issues with this offense and get it down the field.
Hood, it really pains me to admit this and even say this, but the Bears are a better team last year with Justin Fields. Caleb wasn't ready. I know many of us thought that he was coming into the league ready-made. You can look at the stats and say the stats are fine. On paper, the stats look really good. But if you watch the games, you watch the kid who wasn't ready for the speed of the game, may not have put in the necessary work to get ready for the speed of the game and all those things. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback, possibly great quarterback, but those 35 games in college and missing his senior year of high school didn't prepare him for the NFL. So if you're looking at a team, if you're like, okay, we needed to make the playoffs last year, Justin was the guy to make the playoffs last year. Caleb wasn't. Going forward, I think Caleb's going to be fine, but last year he just wasn't ready.
Well, I mean, look, if Justin Fields in that position, Justin would still have the same growing pains of an offensive line that protecting for him. And on top of that, and if you don't believe me, watch his games with Pittsburgh. It was the same looping arm thing where he took too much time to get the ball out. Mike Tomlin gave Justin Fields every opportunity, Cuzzo, to have the job. He's like, here, take it. Like, they were going to push Russ to the side. But still, even Justin said, I jagged it. I had an opportunity, and like Tomlin gave me every opportunity to do it. And again, it's this whole hitch with his arm, even though the athleticism is there and he can run with the football. It's just that here's the thing that you saw from Caleb. You could say he's not ready. I don't think the Bears are ready for him.
True.
As far as especially when it comes to the protection.
And I think coaching wise as well, like you had a coach in Shane Waldron that, if you're a kid, he's the substitute teacher. You want to see that guy come because you're going to run over him. Whatever you want to do, you're going to do because he doesn't have the ability to tell you no. He may want to say it, but he doesn't have the balls to be able to tell professional athletes like, yeah, you can't do this. Yeah, we're going to do it this way. So when you bring him into Chicago with a rookie, and the rookie tells him like, hey, I did this in college. He's, oh, okay. Well, we're going to scrap this and just do everything you did in college. That isn't the way it worked. You need someone like a Thomas Brown who pushed back on like, hey, nah, sit your ass down. We're going to do it this way. This is the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to work. And Caleb receives that well. So hopefully with Ben Johnson being able to hide the deficiencies of a Jared Goff, because we both know Jared Goff isn't an elite quarterback, but he looked elite under Ben Johnson. So if he can make a kid like that look great at times, I'm hoping he can do the same with Caleb, unlock, the kid's potential. And we're looking at, a generational quarterback for the next 15, 20 years.
But nothing changes, Cuzzo, until the offensive line gets better. And here's the thing. As we have documented and seen, an offensive line is not built in a year. If you can get a couple of guys that could be a difference maker in the offensive line just to give the quarterback enough time to run or to be able to get the ball out in less than 2.5 seconds, that's fine. Everybody can't be Jane Daniels or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen that can be able to hold the ball, move around the pocket, get first downs. There's a number of quarterbacks that can do that. And I know that Caleb, he showed that he could do that from time to time, but also went behind the line of scrimmage for 10 yards and got sacked sometimes too, because he kind of reverted back to his days at USC. When I look at this depth chart, when I look at this offensive line for the Bears, and we want your comments, by the way, we'll read your comments as we go along here on this special Under the Hood podcast, as we talk about Ben Johnson becoming the new head coach for the Bears. When I look at this offensive line, Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, Matt Pryor, Darnell Wright. There's going to be a number of these offensive linemen, Cuzzo, that's not going to be there this upcoming season. Braxton Jones could still be with his team. I feel like Tevin Jenkins is going to go someplace else. I saw his press conference the other day where he was like, yeah, my child is from here. I like Chicago. I might want to get a breath of fresh air, that kind of thing. I'm just paraphrasing. It felt like he had one foot out the door of Hallis Hall. That's how it felt. But then Coleman Shelton, just a guy. Matt Pryor, just a guy. So I feel like in this offseason, you're going to draft and you're going to get in free agency and fix this offensive line, because those 5 lawn chairs that they had out there was not good enough for anybody, including Caleb Williams.
So, I'm a Ryan Poles fan. I like what he's done as far as tearing his team down and trying to build it back up. But if I have one criticism of Ryan Poles at this point right now, it's that he finds guys who have NFL talent. He's not finding the elite guys, though. You need some elite guys on your team to get to the next level. The NFL guys are great to have around, but you need to have guys who are also elite. And right now, you look at the offensive line, there is an elite guy on the offensive line, and I don't think even Darnell Wright, I don't think he's going to be elite at all. I mean, he's going to be solid, really good offensive lineman, but he's not going to be a Penei Sewell. He's not going to be a guy to that level. And you need guys like that to take your offensive line to the next level. Even you need guys like that on the defensive line. Like Sweat he's good. He's not elite though. So you're going to need to find some elite talent on your offensive and defensive line to take those units to the next level. And right now, we just don't have that. And I think with a great offensive coordinator, great offensive mind, you can maybe hide some of that offensively, and that should help. So I still think the Bears are going to be like playoff team, knocking at the door to the playoffs next year, with an improvement from a Ben Johnson on offense. But you still need to find some elite talent on the lines to take your team to the next level.
Like I understand that, Cuzzo, it's an offensive league. I've been saying this for years, and we all see it, right? We understand that offense is things that makes a team hum. But also on the defensive side, if you're giving up a lot of big plays like we saw this past year, and again, last year, this is what Tyreek Stevenson on the field. That means that's Kevin Byard on the team, Jalen Johnson. I mean, so you had guys in the secondary that can make plays. The whole thing is, though, is that defensive line. Montez Sweat, I'm glad you brought him up. You know what's strange, Wiley, about Montez Sweat? The narrative was he requires a double team, so that means others can eat, like a Javon Dexter or like a DeMarcus Walker. You know that Montez Sweat down the stretch, you went to some games and you watched very closely. Part-time player, situational player. That's not what he's in. That's not what he's on the Bears for. If Montez Sweat is the best thing that you have getting to the quarterback, then you have a problem. And I'm talking about a guy with a reputation that can get it done, but situational, not out there down in and then down out. That's what he's paid for. And so if it's not him, it sure as hell is not DeMarcus Walker. I know they miss Billings in the middle as far as running the football, but again, it has to be more than that. So when it comes to defensive tackle, right defensive end, and maybe just getting younger in your secondary, I think that you need to take a look at that, because Dennis Allen very well could be the defensive coordinator. As according to Adam Schefter, they're talking to him. Allen needs something to work with too defensively.
I agree. And I think it seems like CTE Brisker, I call him CTE Brisker because, we know he already has, CTE already, but he seemed to be the straw that stirred the drink.
Yes,
he did. He seemed to be the straw that started the drink. So when he went out with injury, the defense took a major step back, because he was the guy who could blitz and add pressure to the quarterback when Sweat and others were not getting there. And once he was gone, they didn't have that guy in the secondary. Gordon would do it occasionally, but Gordon, while he's a really good nickel corner, he's not the same blitzing guy from secondary that Brisker was. So they need Brisker back, or someone comparable to Brisker, to play alongside him, and they definitely need another edge rusher, because like Sweat just isn't getting it done. I know he was banked up a little bit this year, but when you pay a guy $100 million, you're not paying for excuses. You're paying for production, and he didn't provide that at all this year.
So here's why it's strange for you to be this optimistic, just from a head coaching change and a whole. I mean, not just the head coach, but a whole staff is going to be in here. And it's not like we've never seen that before, Wiley. I mean, I don't know why you're optimistic when there is a coaching change, yes. But again, it's about trying to get past the Lions and the Vikings and the Packers. Yeah, they play one more game than the Bears. I understand that. But you look at their infrastructure, like with the Lions. Now, they're going to be missing their DC more than likely. I think Aaron Glenn will get a job. Their DC will get a head coaching job, and Ben Johnson now is the head coach for the Bears. So it weakens them a little bit, but they still got the personnel. The Vikings will probably go with J.J. McCarthy, maybe not Sam Darnold, but again, they have weapons on both sides of the football better than the Bears. Green Bay Packers, flip a coin. Like, not the biggest Jordan Love fan, but they've got their thumb on us over the years. And so there's a lot to overcome. And so that's why I say, if the Bears don't turn this around quickly, and I mean, like, it's going to be more than an offseason, because if you're going to get like new offensive linemen, new defensive linemen, it doesn't mean that you're the Washington Commanders in one offseason. It takes time to be able to build that. I just don't know how that happens in 2025 for the Bears, for them to be even stiff in the playoffs.
So part of it is, well, I think the Bears underachieved last year, by a lot. And then, also being a Bears fan, really being a Chicago fan, all you have is faith, Cuzzo. All you have is faith. That's really all you have. So you got to lean on your faith, and believe that things are going to change, and
mm-hmm.
it's that change gonna come, and I believe with the talent
Creflo Dollar's joined us. Good to have Creflo Dollar here with his preaching. Change gonna come. You might as well say that. It's Dr. King Day. Go ahead. Tell people how change is gonna come. Go ahead.
I have a dream. Yeah, that's really what it boils down to. It's like I have nothing but faith. And then I also think that the roster last year was better than what they played. I think they have a lot of talent, at receiver, at tight end, at quarterback. I think, Caleb and Rome will continue to develop. I think the secondary is really good. So when I'm looking at this team, I believe that, with the right leadership and with some tweaks at offensive line, defensive line, this team can take another step, take a major step. And then I also think, with Ben Johnson coming to Chicago, no one knows that offense better than he does. No one knows the tendencies and weaknesses of those players better than he does. So that should help the Bears when it comes to playing a Lions team. Who knows what JJ's going to be next year? And I just don't believe in Jordan Love at all. I know a lot of people think he's a great quarterback. I just think he's good. I think he's just a decent quarterback, but I don't think he's a guy who's going to take the Packers to the next level. So I think the Bears have a chance to, come on strong next year and take a major leap. And I have no evidence of that at all. Obviously, like I said, it's just, you live on faith. And I'm believing that this Bears team can, take a major step. And I believe Poles understands also that his job depends on it as well. So I don't think he's going to, maybe draft a developmental player in the third round, like he did last year with the African kid. I think he's going to take swings, to make sure that the offensive line, defensive line are improved. And because of that, that's why I believe they can, challenge the Lions and the Vikings and the Packers in the division next year.
Now, along with that, several other factors with this. So let's just go with the other candidates because they did wine and dine Mike McCarthy, the former Cowboys coach. I think McCarthy might get one of these gigs. I'm not sure. Or maybe the musical chairs stops and he doesn't get a job. But I think that McCarthy was someone that is a finalist, from what I understand, to be the head coach for the Chicago Bears. And I had no problem with McCarthy because I know that he's good with offense. Again, people can turn a blind eye to it. I saw the stats. I saw what he did with Dak Prescott. I saw what he did with Aaron Rodgers. Yes, it's one Super Bowl championship, but it's one I haven't seen since '86. So I would take that Super Bowl championship. He would have worked well with Caleb, but what it comes down to, Cuzzo, is like the whole accountability piece. All right. So what happened in that locker room after the Washington game was just amazing because this team came to pieces. It was just one fuck up. There's just one thing with the Hail Mary. And then all of a sudden, we can't beat Arizona. We can't beat New England. Then we go through this 10-game losing streak. And then Eberflus couldn't do anything about it to put the pieces back together. No speech that he had, nothing that he could say to the press, nothing helped to bring this thing together. And the team just came apart. So some of those players that helped break this team up as far as the emotional end of it are still going to be on this football team. And the hope is that with a fresh start that they could be able to understand, like, just because you go through a little adversity doesn't mean that you lay down and that you don't play hard or you point fingers on YouTube and on your social media or go up the back stairs and say that Caleb Williams doesn't work hard. Some of those veterans, and some of those veterans, by the way, will not be on this football team, quite frankly. So those are things I hope are fixed here in the offseason where they can weed out some of those guys or just fix the attitude in that locker room.
So I think part of the reason why Eberflus lost the locker room was because after the Washington game, he put the blame on players. He put the blame for the failure on the players. And the players were tired of every time the Bears failed, the coach never stood up there and said, you know what, it's on me. I need to coach better. I need to do this better. And what I saw was after the Washington game, Eberflus did it over the top. Every time something happened, he was like, yeah, it's on me. It was too late, though, at that point. It was too late for him to get the locker room back at that point. And then there's really not a lot of leadership there because, to your point, yeah, you had a lot of guys, kind of coasting last year. You had a lot of guys coasting last year, and finding every reason except the mirror, to excuse the failure of the team. It's like, oh, well, it's this. Oh, it's the coaching. It's this. It's that. No, you have to take accountability for the product on the field because you're out there. Like the coach can only do so much. And if you're not playing up to your standard, then, you have to, be accountable for that. You have to look in the mirror and say, hey, I need to do better. I need to do this better, and not wait for some Messiah to come in and say, hey, let me lead you to the promised land, because that isn't how it works. That isn't how it works when you're making millions of dollars as a professional athlete. You have to find that within yourself to push yourself even when things aren't going well. And I think that a lot of the guys on that roster didn't do that last year.
Nothing else that's coming across while we do this live Under the Hood special as Ben Johnson is new head coach for the Chicago Bears. Questions about it. A special teams coach, the interim head coach for the Saints, Darren Rizzi, is the Bears are pursuing him as special teams coach. We mentioned earlier that they're pursuing the defensive coordinator, possibly Dennis Allen, who's is terrific as a defensive coordinator and really smart, top 5 defense for the Saints. So that's all we have so far as possible other coaches to the Ben Johnson staff. But if you're Ben Johnson, as we get ready to talk about go to the comments here, if you're Ben Johnson, it's hard to stay focused. You're the Lions offensive coordinator, and you know that because your offense is so good, everyone's beating down your door. The agent has been in touch with our show in the morning. So we're privy to what the agent has been saying, and he always felt, I'm talking about Ben Johnson's agent, he always thought this is going to be it. Like, he's going to get a head coaching job. It was not the Raiders because Tom Brady and his perfect face tried to get Ben Johnson to be the Raiders coach, and Ben Johnson was like, cool, who's your quarterback?
Right.
So that's why he's not a Raider, because at least with Caleb Williams, you got somebody there. So I just think that whole thing is fascinating. Like, you got to focus on the game as OC, but yet you're going to get some interviews sometime soon. All right, let's take a look at the comments, Cuzzo. Let's see if we can help out some people here and some questions regarding this. Curtis Jackson is checking in. Curtis Jackson's checking in. Fitty, nice for you to check in, sir. Also, David Allen checks in. Yeah, he can't believe they actually made the big boy move. Yeah, I know. To get top shelf guy that knows offense, that can try to help Caleb Williams for the next, who knows, 5 years, 7 years, who knows? But they certainly did that. Yeah, Curtis Jackson is just like, okay, it's a head nod for me. Let's see how everything shakes out in free agency, draft, etc. But before the optimistic train starts, and that's only fair. That's fair because are you getting yourself another Amagaje? Are you finding another punter? Nothing wrong with Torrey Taylor, but I'm just saying, like, I just thought, like, bro, you need to take care of the offensive line, the protection, and you took care of the outside of the house instead of the inside first, as far as not getting the offensive line. Jay Crit says Caleb and Justin don't even compare. Justin still freezes and gets stuck with some of his issues. What do you think of that comment there from Jay Crit?
No, so I agree. I think a lot of times Justin's issues were between his ears, his ability to process information and quickly. And I think he couldn't, and he would, when he decided what to do, it would be too late. So that indecision would cost him a lot. And I don't think Caleb has that issue. I think Caleb, to Jay Chris' point, sometimes tries to do too much. Instead of just taking the easy play, he tries to make the special play every play, and you can't make special plays every play in the NFL. And then obviously the accuracy issue Caleb had this year was just insane because we didn't see that coming. He didn't have accuracy problems in college, but he couldn't complete a 15-yard pass many games without like some adventure. So I think, there's work the kid has to do. The talent is just undeniable, but the kid has to put in the work in the offseason to improve for next year.
David says he's cautiously optimistic. We need Poles to get the lines of scrimmage fixed on both sides of the ball. Also, Kevin Warren shovels in the ground in Arlington Heights. Yeah, I mean, so here's what you don't want if you're Ryan Poles, right? Here's what you don't want. You don't want to have a situation, Cuzzo, where you have to have Kevin Warren make the decision for you. It's like, okay, so the team's not going in the right direction because the firing would come from Kevin Warren. Warren is already like sharpening his knives and being up there in front of the press. And by the way, president of the team, he's supposed to be able to speak. That's another thing, too. I love the idea like Kevin Warren's supposed to just stay in the back. Like Kevin Warren is in a position to speak if he wants to. But here's the thing. If Ryan does not do the job, Kevin has a right to pull the trigger. But it's on Ryan to be able to fix this.
Yeah, so as much as I love Ryan Pace, I feel the opposite about Kevin Warren. Like, do your job. Like, if you want to fire Ryan Poles later on because he's not getting things done on the field, that's fine. But do your job first. Like, Ryan can point to some level of successes in the NFL with the Bears at the very least. Warren has none. I know he wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning and stays in the bed for the next 30 minutes, but like when it comes to, the stadium and other things, the guy loves to pat himself on the back, but he's done nothing yet. I can look at Poles and say, yeah, Poles made great trades. Poles drafted Fields. I mean, Poles drafted Caleb and some other things. I can't point to anything that Warren has done beyond pat himself on the back every time a camera is near or a reporter is near. So, yeah, I don't think he should stay in the back, but, don't make Poles seem like he's just some little child and you're the principal or the parent. That's a bad look. It's a bad look for the organization. So you can have a say, you can have influence, but do it in a way that doesn't, take away the credibility of your GM. And I think he didn't do that with the initial press conference when they fired Eberflus.
CJ Taylor, contributor to Under the Hood, says, does Ryan Poles survive if the Bears have another losing season now with Ben Johnson's head coach? That will tell a story. I think, but here's what's so strange about that, though, because it's like, so if you've had 5 wins and you're still in the basement of the NFC North, like Ryan Poles being fired, I wouldn't even blink an eye because I'd understand why they would do that.
Right.
Because time runs out on everybody, right? And so
Absolutely.
Instead of being able to take care of the offensive line, because the scenario I brought up this morning was if you would have taken care of the offensive line, not a Emagaje, just like not a throw in from Yale. I'm talking about if you would have taken care of the offensive line or defensive line, then now you're building on what you did the previous season. But you didn't do that. You got Caleb and you got Roma Dunze. Cool. Yeah, Roma Dunze and Caleb are the combination for the next 5 years, 4 or 5 years at least. That's the combination. But what about the protection? So, I mean, it's hard to say that Poles will survive that. So, Camel Toe Inspector, you and Wiley have something in common. We thanks for listening in Los Angeles every morning. Appreciate that. Red Sea is checking in. He says, love that they got the number one guy. I am tired of winning the offseason and sucking when it counts. Yeah, right. I mean, he's totally right about that. It's a great point. Who else is checking in here with us this evening? Oh, Dennis Wilson says, it's a new day. The Bears went for the win and the home run. Yeah. Now, what else? What else are you going to do? Right? So.
It's a big offseason.
Yeah. Manny Harris says, loves ESPN 1000. Thanks for the laugh and the great content. Thank you very much for checking in. And what he's referring to, Manny Harris, is the morning show I do from 7 to 10 Central on ESPN 1000 and on the ESPN Chicago app. Pork Chop says that he might be Matt Nagy 2.0. Matt Nagy got to the playoffs 2 out of 4 years.
Twice, yeah. I'll take that right now.
So, I'll take a couple of playoffs, but I want sustainability. That's the difference.
Yeah, Nagy never called plays either. So Ben Johnson has had success with bum edge Jared Goff, for 3 years.
He called plays. Nagy called plays. Don't you remember the controversy
5 games?
Of no, he called plays to the point where fans were like, "You got to give the playbook to his offensive passing coordinator." Don't you recall this? That was the problem, that the offense was stagnant because Nagy was calling plays, and he gave up the playbook for a couple of games and then took it back. That's the problem.
No, I'm talking about with the Chiefs when he was hired.
Oh, that's Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, that's the brother.
He's now out now. He wanted to prove himself without the Chiefs, and now he's just out there. Some other thoughts here. DJ Moore is not a good route runner. Rome will be better. DJ Moore is a good route runner. I just thought at times that he made some business decisions because he got pissed off because the ball wasn't getting down the field. You saw that live, right, at Soldier Field?
Yes.
So that's not good. So if they cut him tomorrow, I would not blink. DJ Moore. Yeah. And that's with a fresh contract too, by the way. Fresh contract. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys checking in on the messages for Under the Hood podcast. Again, like, share, and subscribe what we do here on YouTube. We're going to be back again after Ben Johnson speaks to the media, and we'll review what he has to say, see if whether or not there's a vibe there with us when it comes to Ben Johnson being the head coach. Let me just tell you, don't look for like someone dynamic, Cuzzo. He's not that guy.
Yeah.
He's not dynamic.
He's not a Vrabel, but, just don't be a Tressman. That's it. I mean, low bar. Don't be a Tressman.
Boy, let me tell you something. Now, that is something to grow on right there. Don't be a Tressman. That means not just for the head coach, for everybody. People do not be a Tressman.
Yes.
You know that guy was coaching from the back of the room?
Yes.
He would have his back against the wall, and then the players are looking this way. Players are looking this way, and he's in the back of the room saying, "Gentlemen, we've got to be tougher out there. Where are you, coach? Oh, there he is." Couldn't even see. You saw him in the light of the film room. Imagine being in a movie theater and someone speaks, and you're like, where did that voice come from? That was Trustman as a head coach. Strange. It's very strange, man. All right. On the bottom, it says Linktree, and J Hood Radio. Go to Linktree and go to J Hood Radio. You can get all the merchandise that we have, all the podcasts. It's all there in my Linktree. For those like, are you on TikTok? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Fanbase? Are you on? Yeah, I'm on all those things. It's on J Hood Radio. Cuzzo, where's the pooch? Where's the mascot? Is he sleeping?
He's not, but he can't today. He can't today because I'm getting ready to. I'm getting ready to head out, and I will have like God knows how much hair I'll have on me when he's done. So all right. He knows what I'm doing, so he's like, oh, he heard you, so he's like, oh, I know what time it is, but I had to stick my leg out. I was like, no, we're not doing that today. Not today.
Very, very swift with the leg out there. All right, cool. Not today. Well, for Cuzzo Wiley, it's Jay Hood. When Ben Johnson speaks, we'll be right back here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Thanks, Cuzzo.
Thanks, Cuzzo.